Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into Sims Workshop. I hope you're having one full day. Words matter. So today we're going to be reviewing Heir by Sabaa Tahir. This was the July book club pick for my virtual book club Read with Sims Workshop. So I already have a lot to say, and I already did say a lot. So hopefully that will allow me to be a little bit more concise with my review. I personally did not read Sabaa Tahir's previous series, and I've been told that this takes place in the same universe, so I will start by saying that I didn't feel lost. You know, I think Sabaa Tahir did a really good job of creating this world, and even if she's already recreated it once, she did a really good job of recreating it for new readers. You know, there's not a whole lot of info dump. It just evolves kind of effortlessly as we're introduced to new characters. So we get a lay of the land. You know, I love when there's a map in the book. Also, all fantasy books should have a fucking map, for the love of God. I love that there's a map because the map also allowed me to ground myself in this world, to see where these characters were going. And I think it was really, really interesting to see this world come alive, and to see kind of the fantasy come alive. And Quill's whole, he has magic, but he doesn't know. Him and his country, they don't know that the Kagari have wind magic. They're just like, what the fuck, when the invasion happens. I will say early on in the book, I felt like Quill's chapters were a little too long, like, especially compared to Shusha and A's. I think that his chapters, and I understand why, honestly. It makes sense as you read the novel. But when I was first reading it, I was just like, oh my god, this is a really long chapter. Because it felt long. That was the problem. I'd go to be like, okay, how many more chapters do I have? You know, how many more pages do I have to finish a chapter? And be like, oh my god, I feel like I've been reading this chapter for ages. That's how I felt. And luckily, it was a short-lived feeling, because I think it only happened up until the plot twist where it's revealed that Aza's storyline begins in the past. And you're building up to the future, to the present day, I should say, with her storyline, right? And then there are a lot of plot twists that I did not see coming. Didn't see them coming. So they were really interesting to see, kind of evolved. Because again, you're seeing, when you're reading Aza's perspective, you're seeing the past, right? And with Quill and Shusha, that's the present. First of all, I think Shusha is way more deserving of Quill than A's is. I don't think A's is capable of love, to be perfectly honest. You know, I really don't think that she's capable of, genuine love. Maybe she could love Zero, who gets one perspective, and that was an interesting choice. I do like that. I think sometimes authors focus too much on giving every single character, the same amount of treatment and the same amount of point of views. And that's not always necessary. Sometimes you only need one character's POV just once, because it does add something to the story, but doesn't take away from the overall story. Maybe he'll get more point of views in the second book. So I think it's a really interesting choice when authors decide to have a character either no longer have point of views, because it's like, well, their story has kind of wrapped up, and it's not really going to add anything else. It's just going to become a distracting factor. Or introduce a character point of view very late at the end, like Tahir does in this one. So I think it's really interesting, and it wasn't distracting either. I think it fit the flow of the pacing. It added some backstory without feeling like it was kind of being shoehorned in there. It added something to the story instead of taking away, and it wasn't distracting, and it didn't ruin the pacing of the story either. But I think if A's was able to really love anyone, and I get it, she had a really traumatic upbringing, and hatred and vengeance has really hardened her heart. But I think if she were able to love anyone, it would be Zero. But she's not a really likable character. She's complex. And that's why I do like her, because she is a complex character, but I don't like her. I like how the character is written. But I honestly do think that she is irredeemable by the end of the book. But that's another thing I like. She's complex. And I love when we get really complex characters. That it's like you can hate them, you can love them, or you can just like want to be on their journey with them. Like you don't hate them or love them, because I don't hate or love Ava, and I wouldn't say I'm indifferent to her. I think she's interesting as a character, irredeemable, but she's interesting, and you can understand where she came from and how she became the way she is, you know? So there's a lot of complexities with her character. Saoirse's sister, I fucking hate her, and I want her to die. I like Saoirse and Colt together a lot. I think they both bring out the best of each other, and they help each other heal as well. You know, they are also very complex, very interesting characters. But these are two characters that I really do love, and he needs to save her. Their whole dynamic, you know, she's like witty and kind of snarky, and he's just like a stoic sometimes, but he wants to like defend her. He's like, I don't know why I want to save her, but I feel compelled to save her. Definitely a he fell first kind of moment there for him. But I really, really like their characterization and their dynamic and how it grows and flourishes, and how she's a tracker and she has her own magic and her own debt coin, and they're all on the same kind of mission, but they don't all know it. So I like the way the story built up, and I like the way the pacing built up, and I love every single fucking plot twist, even though every single one just sent me like, what the fuck? Every single plot twist caught me off guard. The fact that Ace's story took place past tense, but we're reading it as if it's a present tense, that reveal caught me off guard. The further reveals down the line were, one of them I saw coming, but not in the way it was ultimately revealed in the book. I was like, kind of saw that coming, just not in that way. Holy fuck. It was very, very interesting. My jaw was on the floor half the time when I was reading this book. And I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. I thought I'd like it, but I really like it. I mean, like, this is a solid 4.5 book, just because it kept me on my toes and it kept me engaged from beginning to end. And it does offer really complex, interesting characters as well. Ace is a villain, I firmly believe, but I understand why she's a villain. But I also do believe that she is irredeemable. I do believe she is irredeemable. You can't redeem her. She has done awful things in the name of her people, and she feels little to no sympathy about it. Well, that's not true. She does feel a little bad, but also she's just a very power-hungry character. Very power-hungry. I don't like her, but she's interesting to read about because she's complex. So I can't just say like, oh, she's a crazy evil villain. Like, no, there are layers to her character, but there are layers to everyone's character. And I think that's what another thing Tahir did very well in this book. She gave all of her characters layers, and that kept me captivating. And I also liked that I wasn't lost, and that there was enough world building for me to ground myself in the book without it feeling like info dump, you know? So, really good book. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in Empire after everything that happened here, because oh my god, that ending. I need the second book in my hands, and I need it now, but I have the fairy loot, so I have to wait for the fairy loot. So that's going to be a little bit of a long wait for me. So I'll survive. I'll find a way to survive. But yeah, really, really, really good book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Honestly, highly recommend it. And no, if you have not read, her previous series, you are not going to feel lost, because I didn't read it and I was not lost at all. I completely understood this world. I like the interesting politics and the world building. It worked. So, solid storytelling. So on that note, thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.